Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Cody. I'm a private boater, and today is a sunny, nice day here in Oregon. It's getting cold, it's getting wet next week, so I thought this was a great time for me to do a video about how I rig up my Cataraft. The Cataraft I put into storage during the summer because I don't really use it that much, and so I just inflated the tubes, grabbed the frame, threw it on, and I'm going to talk about kind of how I set everything up. So first is the orientation of your tubes. This is a personal preference of mine. I like to have my tubes facing straight up and down. And what I mean by that is there's kind of an underside third um, panel on these sotars, and I like to have that equally hitting the water. And this is personal preference. I don't think it creates any performance or negative or positive by having your tube straight up and down. I don't think tilting your tubes in any way provide any assistance, and that's just my personal opinion. But I like to have stuff symmetric, and so that's why I personally like taking the time to get my tubes as straight up and down as I can. Next is, how do I know which side is the front, which side is the back? On SOTARs, there's a few different ways that you can tell. One is these tags on the inside that have your serial number are put on the front of SOTAR cats, and then also your valves are on the front of your tubes. I have buddies that when we run multi-days, they throw their valves in the back just because they're already rigging in the back and it makes it easier to inflate. If you do it that way, these tubes are not going to run any different going in the forward direction or in the reverse direction. I just personally, out of habit, I like having my valves up in the front because on day trips, I find most of the time I'm standing at the front of my boat to inflate. But it makes a lot of sense. If you're going to switch up your tubes for a multi-day, it makes a lot of sense to put them in the back. Um, Next is kind of where I want the frame forward and back. And so this is going to really depend on, am I running a multi-day focused or single day focused? If I'm running single day focused trips, I want my body to be dead center of the boat because I'm the heaviest thing on this boat that I'm going to be affecting it. And I found that if I have my weight here, it's pretty equal. And I really like equal weight distribution for run-of-the-mill go-to trips. There are some trips that I like to have a boat maybe a little nose heavy, maybe a little tail heavy. That's really rare for tail heavy. Nose heavy is usually what I like. And so I can always move my frame forward. I would never have my frame back from my body weight being center of the tubes. Now, if I'm doing a multi-day focus trips, and why I say like multi-day focus is, let's say I'm running tons of multi-days, and then I throw a single, like a one-day trip in, I'm not going to move my frame just for that one trip. So I'm going to set everything up for what a majority done to do. And in October all the way through March, I'm only going to be doing day trips in this cat. And so having my weight pretty much dead center. And how I can tell that I'm dead center is there's actually a pretty good weld marker right here on my frame. And then I'm going to get it pretty much right in between these two handles. And that's what I've kind of decided is a good marker for dead center on this boat. And if I'm running a multi-day, I'm going to shove this frame about as far up. So I've got some marks on here. I probably run about 7 inches, 8 inches further forward when I'm running a multi-day setup, and that's because I have more weight sitting in the back of the boat, and I'm trying to even out the weight. And if I'm evening it out and I don't successfully do it, I always want to kind of err on the side of caution and get that weight forward as much as I can. Now, with a big caveat, if you run in Idaho, you're going to shove your frame as far forward as possible. That's a Payette system thing because kind of their features are more going to try to kick your boat up and underneath you. And so that's kind of a frames forward is an Idaho kind of term. They stand behind it. And so if I'm running and around people that have a certain way to do it, I'm probably going to listen to those people. But for the rivers I run, putting my weight dead center is going to be great. So I'm going to cut here and I'm going to get the straps out and talk about how I strap up the boat. So I've got the frame kind of where I want it on the boat. I'm not looking for perfection right now. I'm just looking to get it close. And so on the inside, I think it's important to use as short of straps as you can. And I used to do a lot of different things, putting straps around D-rings. This has kind of changed over my life, my preference. But I just really like just doing a standard, just doing nothing special, and then just making sure that this buckle is as tight to this D-ring as possible. And kind of, so all I'm doing is just getting it slightly snug, and I'm going to do the 4 inside corners. I'm not going to touch anything on the center right now, just doing the 4 inside corners, and I'm going to do the 4 outside corners. All right, so I've gotten the 8 corner straps on, the 4 on the inside, 4 on the outside. And what I didn't show in the video is I kind of get stuff slightly snug. So I'm not reefing on any of these straps at this time. And all I'm doing is if I need to rotate the tubes at all I'm doing is either loosening the outside ones and tightening the inside ones, or the reverse. And my goal is to get the inside tubes or inside bars, the scout bars, tight up against the tubes and them straight and even to my liking. So for the last ones, this is where I think I differ from, you'll find a video on YouTube that they talk about that they run a strap from the bottom up to this top bar and then back. And that doesn't make sense to me. I think it works. You do that setup if you have a floor in your cataract because you can't get to the strap. But I find that all I do is just like the corners, I just take straps from the lower D-rings and then put them straight to the scout bars. All I'm trying to do is maybe give myself some angle on these. So right now I can run this strap right up. I'll run it on the inside of this bar, inside of this bar to give me some strength, kind of forward and back, and the outside ones are in a triangle. So I think some people try to overcomplicate this, but I think overall, like this is a pretty easy way to strap up a cataract. Definitely, if you're learning into it, play around, figure out what works best for you. Outside of that, hopefully I'll see you guys out on the water. Even to my liking. Once I get these 8 straps in, I really think you should just go paddle with these 8 straps on. Out of habit, and I think it's more peer pressure, I've never tried to just paddle with 8 straps on. Um, Everyone just puts on 16. And so I think that's why I've always done it. Obviously, it's going to give you more rigidity. So anytime you get more rigidity, you're going to get better response. If you get pinned in a cat, you're attaching to a frame instead of attaching to tubes like you would a raft. So your frame is a more integral part of the structural stability in a cataract versus a raft. And so I think that's why you end up with extra straps. But I don't know, maybe sometime I'll go send some big, take off the straps and just kind of see how the boat feels. But